Hello friends, welcome to Squared Plans. I'm Stephanie and today we're going to be doing some DIY dashboards / dividers, just depending on what you call them. I have some different materials here that I'll be using, including some plastic films, some laminating pouches because we'll be doing some laminating as well. And then I'll also be inserting some of the video footage from previous videos where I show how I create dividers from cardstock and from file folders. So kind of a combination video here, a collection of different things. So if that sounds good, let's jump in. Okay, so with this guy, I want to create more of a dashboard style in my planner so that I could make more of these outside tab dividers. This size is a little bit harder to find from the Happy Planner. I originally made this using my dashboard hack. If you have not seen that, you gotta check that out. I show you how to take any Happy Planner dashboard, pretty much any Happy Planner dashboard, and make it into a clear version of that. So I did this one. This one was one that had actually been stamped with foil, so you can kind of see the ghosting of the stamp where it says Planner Babe. It was like covered in Planner Babe purple foil stamped. And so it's not the best shape, even though I did do the hack on it. The stamping kind of made it a little bit junky looking, and then I just want some fresh options. I have two other ones that I use in my planner and they really help me navigate. I have my Daily Habits one here on the outside at the end of my habits, and then I have another one that I created not too long ago for my notes, and you can see how they're like crystal clear, or this one has no weirdness like this one does here with the stenciling. I kind of want more of that look throughout my planner. And so, like I said, they're hard to find by the Happy Planner. I just found that notes one on a clearance just by chance. So I thought, well, instead of trying to wait until I run across one to complete my planner setup, let me try to make one. So I got these sheets from Amazon. They're like a type of plastic. This one it's a styrene plastic. There's different types of plastic and different thicknesses. I will link these exact ones down below in the description, so in case you want to use them. But they're very comparable to the Happy Planner dashboards as far as thickness and kind of like the see-throughness of it. It's a little bit opaque, but not really. It's just like slightly frosted almost. So I have that, and I am going to make a dashboard right now. So let's do it. So first thing I need is something to cut with. Going back to my trusty old guillotine cutter. I love this thing. It works so well for so many projects. And I'm just going to use this one as a guide. So it looks like, actually I need to put it on top. Looks like we need to cut it at just over 7, well, maybe 7. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be at 7. Okay, so 7 inches. I'm just going to make sure it's super straight. It looks good there. Cuts really well, no problems there. Sometimes with thicker plastics and things you can have a problem, but this thickness is really great. I really cannot remember what the thickness is, but again, I'll put it down in the description below so you guys have that at your disposal. And since I cut that there, let's go ahead and just trim this off. It looks like it's just about a 1/2 inch, a 1/4 inch from the top. These sheets, I believe, are 8 by 10. So in case you're wondering. And this is crooked. I did cut it crooked, so let me straighten it real quick. Okay, that's a little better. And I'll make sure that that's the punch side. And like I said, just like in 1/2 inch off the top, or 1/4 inch. And then we'll go up to here, 9 1/4. So that's basically the page size of a classic. And just trim it slightly. I'm going to pull this down a little bit so it doesn't get cut. You can, of course, mark this on your sheet using something that will erase, but I just wanted to use the template and see how we did without having to write on the plastic. Okay, so we're really close here. I'm just going to go ahead and finish it off with my scissors, and I'm just going to kind of like go a little bit wide here and then match these guys up. Okay, so we've got that, and go ahead and soften the corners and do a little bit better with the tab. Let's see. The inside corners are the hardest really to get, otherwise it's pretty simple. I'm just going to do this corner as well. And then I'm just going to soften this guy a little bit. I'm just going to trim it just a smidge. It's kind of how the other ones are, just so it's not so pointy. If you have a Cricut or some other type of cutting machine, this plastic I think would work awesome in there, and then you can just use that file to create exactly what you're looking for and not have to cut it by hand. But I am always doing things by hand. It's just the way I end up doing my projects. So this one is going to be 100% DIY. There we go. Okay, let me get rid of all this little extraness. And honestly, it's looking good already. Pretty excited for it. I mean, it's just the right size, and then let's go ahead and punch. I'm going to use this as a guide for the first one, because in the past I have definitely gotten off. I think that looks good. Okay, so I need this guy to stay, this guy to go. Go away, go away. All right, let's do the rest. And like I said, this Power Punch works great on lots of materials. So if you are DIYing things for a disc-bound planner, highly, highly recommend this tool. And there we go. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And like I said, the plastic is very similar. There is a coating on the back, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. They say that there is a plastic coating, very fine, just like in the Happy Planner dashboards. Yes, there is. So just be sure to take that off when you're done. But yes, it's ready to go. I'm going to leave it on for now until I get them all ready to go in my planner, and then I'll clean them, you know, put on the, what do you call this, the labels and everything like that I'm going to need for 2022. But yes, that worked great. This is very, like I said, comparable to the Happy Planner. So if you were thinking about buying dividers or dashboards from a shop, maybe try this option if you want to really hone in and customize what you want. I'm really excited about this. This plastic is really great. So today we're going to be doing some dashboards, DIY, and basically something like this made out of these dollar store chopping mats. So I'm going to go ahead and break them open and kind of show you guys what you get. So for $1, you get these two lovely kind of plasticky sheets of dollar store chopping mat. And they work great for creating kind of the dashboards for your planner. So I attempted this once off camera just to kind of see how it would go. And I think I kind of fine-tuned how to do it so that I could do it for you guys on camera. And FYI, I figured out the focus thing as, you know, as we go through the video. So sorry when things kind of get out of focus. It's whenever I lift anything too close to the camera, it focuses on that instead of, you know, what I'm doing there on the chopping board. So kind of figure that out and toggle back and forth so it gets a little better later in the video. But again, another learning curve thing. So basically each cutting mat is 14 inches wide by 11 high. So it's perfect. You can cut it exactly in half. Well, roughly exactly, which is what I found, because it's a little bit bigger than just 14 inches. But you can cut it in half and get 2 dashboards out of each mat. So each mat is a tiny bit over, so I had to go back and kind of do a little bit of trimming, which you're seeing me do now, and also kind of help because sometimes I didn't cut it perfectly straight, so it helped me kind of even those out. So I'm just kind of measuring to see what I'm going to trim next, because the page width of a classic is 9 1/4, but then you need another, I believe, 1/2 inch for the tab at the top. So I'm trimming off the bottoms, and basically, so it has like a nice rounded corner. I'm basically trimming that off, and I'm just going to make a very shallow kind of roundness to the corner at the very end, because that, you know, that big rounded edge isn't going to work. I have to cut some of it off, so I don't want to have to try to mimic that again at the top. Okay, so I've got my, oh yeah, here's me figuring out the focus thing. It's like, okay, focus. Okay, I think I got it together here. All right, so yeah, so here was my first attempt, and basically I'm doing it so that it's not 3/4 of the size of a dashboard, that is the full page size. So I was trying to figure out how to place the middle tabs so that they kind of all layered evenly. So that one you can do the edges first, and then you kind of have to like eyeball it, kind of get a template going if you're going to do it the way I'm doing it here. And you know, it was a little bit of trial and error. I just kind of like lined up the tab and realized, okay, I need to push it a little bit this way or push it a little bit that way. And so it might be better to do it like with paper, kind of trace it out and then kind of transfer that to your divider. Another thing I learned is that you can't really write on these chopping mats and then have it come off. I even tried with Sharpie and alcohol, which usually always comes off, but it wouldn't come off on my first attempt. So what I'm doing is I have this washi tape that's exactly a 1/2 inch wide, which is perfect. And then, so I'm just kind of tracing where they're gonna go, and I'm writing on top of that washi so that I can just peel it up later and there won't be anything on the actual dashboards I'm creating. So I'm just trying to make sure that they're all kind of straight and even and aligned, so I'm cutting them all in the same area. I realized after I put the washi tape on that I probably could have cut them off a little bit, cut them to size at the very top of the washi as you see there, and then put the washi at the top of the dashboard. So if you're doing this and copying me, that might be a step you want to do ahead of time instead of putting the washi and then cutting them all down and then cutting the tab out, which you're going to see me do. But the washi hack I thought was pretty good just because it definitely helped me kind of see where things were aligning and make sure that my tabs were where I wanted them to be, since I didn't have a real pre-made template as far as, you know, there was nothing pre-made by Happy Planner that I could just copy exactly, since the other dashboards are not quite a full page width. So here's me just kind of checking to make sure that the tabs all kind of line up, do what I'm wanting them to do. And see, here's the chopping board. So this is what I meant by you could do this step before you put the washi tape on and then trim it, so that if you can make sure that the line is straight. But I eyeballed it pretty well, so this worked out for me. So now what I'm doing is just trimming the inner edge of the tabs to kind of save myself some grief trying to keep straight lines with scissors. So I'm not going all the way to the tab, I'm going kind of like maybe 3/4 of the way, so that, and I'll finish up the rest around the tab and the little extra straight line with scissors. Okay. So just kind of rounding the corner and following my little trace lines. Sorry, it's blurry when I kind of hold things up away from the desk. Just another one of those little things that was, you know, giving me grief in this new camera age I'm in. So you can kind of see how it's coming along, and see how they're lining up, making sure everything's good. Okay, just going to finish this last one here. I really think the washi tape was a great thing because it being exactly a 1/2 inch was perfect. And it just helped with, I could write on it, and if I made a mistake, obviously I could just rip it up and pull another one and do it over again. So taking off the washi tape now so you guys can kind of see the final results from that. And so the next step is actually doing the punch for the discs. I have a Happy Planner punch, but these are just a little too big to go through there. They're too thick and it won't punch through. So you kind of have to do another hack, which is to use a single hole punch, one of the handhelds, which I have there on the side under the red divider or dashboard there. And as I'm talking about that, I realized I put them all on the wrong side because I want the shiny side of the cutting mats to be at the back. So I had to change where all of those washi tapes were, flip them over to the opposite sides. But again, great for tracing where you want them to go, and that way you'll have a clean dashboard when you're done. And so basically, if you have one of these handheld single hole punch, they kind of go through a lot thicker papers and it will go through this plastic, which is great. So if you punch through the dots, like just kind of line it up with the half circles of the disc, you'll get a perfectly aligned layout, and then just go through and cut a little strip in between each circle just to give enough room for it to slide on the discs. It really doesn't matter if you go a little bit too big, or, you know, just don't go too small, because then it will kind of stick when you try to roll it over the discs. So here I'm just kind of testing it with the washi in there, and worked great. So now I'm going to peel off the washi, and so one thing I realized, I'm glad I kind of did these one at a time, was that if I pull up the washi before I cut the little strips at the bottom of the circles, then I won't have to peel it up one by one. So that is what you'll see me do once I repeat this step on the next 3 dashboards. So again, just kind of lining it up, and I'm making sure to line up the dashboard with the top of the tab and not the bottom, because these are a tiny bit big on the bottom, or at least bigger than the dashboard I have there as the template. So I'm just making sure that they're all going to be aligned the same. So I'm aligning it with the top just to be sure, and then if I need to trim off the bottom, I can at the very end, and it wouldn't affect anything. So I don't even bother tracing the entire disc hole with the little lines. I basically just do that little half circle and move on all the way through. So I can just quickly align my hole punch, and then again, like I said, you can just eyeball the other little strips as you cut them through. My arm was getting quite a little workout trying to punch through this plastic near the end. I might have been dulling the actual hole punching through this plastic, because I feel like it got harder as I went through. So here you can see that I'm going to pull up the washi tape before I actually do it, so it comes out in one strip basically. Kind of simplify my life. And then now all I need to do is do the trim outs. I was thinking about doing 2 at a time, and then I was like, no, let's just put in the extra effort, make sure you don't mess it up. So I'm always trying to be more efficient, you guys. I hate doing things that are repetitive, so a little tidbit about me. And then one more to go, and I think that's going to be it, you guys. Okay, so like I said, I have some old dividers here to use as a template. The plastic sheets that I got are from Amazon. I really just wanted a way to completely customize the style of dividers that I was going to want here in my planner, and thought, why can't I make my own? And looked on Amazon for some plexiglass sheets. I will link the one that I'm using below so you guys can find it if you really like this one in particular. I think if I did this again, I would go with a slightly thinner plastic. This one is still very easy to cut, it's flexible, but it's pretty thick. And so when I was actually pushing it into my planner, it tended to bend a little bit near the middle where the force was kind of pushing on the hole punches pretty strongly. So that said, I think I would have went a little bit skinnier, make it a little easier on myself. And as you can see here, I'm already starting to cut. I've outlined the Sharpie template right onto the blue film that protects it. So I don't have to worry about that. That's all going to come off in a minute. I can just draw right on it, use it as a guide, and then when I'm all said and done, I can get rid of the blue film and it should be all clean and ready to go. So I'm using, like I said, my guillotine cutter here to cut off the edges just slightly. It gets a little bit stuck there near the middle, but it is a lot easier to start with that and just kind of clean up the cut versus trying to do the whole thing by hand. I have pulled out some long scissors here, so it would make it a little bit easier to cut long straight lines. I usually use smaller scissors, but for this project, the long scissors were really helpful. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut nearly everything out except for just that small edge, rounded edge around the tabs. Now you don't have to do that yourself if you want to have just a straight flat cut for your edges. That would be fine. It'll probably be a little bit easier too. It did take a little bit of effort for me to round some of these corners. And since I've already done one, I only needed to do 3 more. 5 sheets came in the pack, so you would be able to do 5 dividers out of 1 pack, and the approximate cost was about $10, a little bit short of $10 US. So that's not bad. I've seen a lot of dividers out there that are, upwards of $20, $25. Granted, you can customize them, and usually there's some kind of added benefit, not just the dividers, they're nice and clean and cut and ready to go, but I am a DIY queen and I'm also very cheap. So I love to try to do things myself and try to achieve the same results with less money. So that is definitely one of the facets of me and my channel. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, check out all my DIYs. They're all along those same lines, trying to create something really cool and useful, but on the cheap. So I am just trimming out the corners here on these tabs, kind of rounding them out, mainly with the scissors to start. And then once I kind of get an idea of everything mapped out and ready to go, I will go back through with the file and actually soften up those edges a bit. Now, I want to make sure that I have everything in line and that everything is the right size, just kind of checking things out. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and file the main areas where it's a little bit more jagged or my cut wasn't too smooth, and also the corners a tiny bit. You can round the corners yourself using like a punch or even just using the scissors, but I kind of like the square edges. I just don't want it to be so sharp that, it could actually snag on something. So I'm just filing it down so it's just slightly rounded, a little bit softer. And definitely sanding the rounded edges I created with the scissors on the tabs. And this is just a basic nail file. Probably would do better with something a little bit heavier grit on the file itself. This one kept getting kind of ripped into because it was a pretty fine grit, but I didn't want to use one that I actually use normally on my nails. This one is kind of like an old one, so I just picked it up and tried that one out and wasn't really worried if I kind of destroyed it here. So just an FYI there on the file. I'm using this Crocodile Power Disc Punch that I picked up last year. And it is great for materials like this that are kind of heavy and really just not the kind of thing that a Happy Planner punch or an art disc punch might go through easily. So I'm using that, and I was always kind of concerned how to start the very first hole, and then I realized there is a ruler on that little stick out there that has you for a guide. So you just have to use the halfway point on that and you're ready to go to get started. So I kind of made a little Sharpie mark in there. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that, just so I can easily tell what mark I should start on, but it's basically that little midway point, and you just line it up, start it off, and then the rest is pretty easy, just aligning it with the preset hole there on the disc punch. So I'm going to go ahead and finish punching all of these guys, and it really wasn't hard at all. The plastic, like I said, is not that thick. It's definitely cuttable, but I might in the future try this again with a thinner plastic just for fun. So now we're all set, so I'm going to go ahead and strip down all of that protective blue film that's on top of them. It's on the front and the back, so you have to make sure you do that, and now you can kind of see. It's a very shiny plastic. One thing I'm excited about is the option of adding like dashboards or something behind these, kind of start off the sections. And okay, so that is it, friends. All you need to do to make these gorgeous clear dividers. First off, I need to prep the file folders because they are a tiny bit too big to fit within my guillotine cutter. It's just a smidge too tight to get it in there with those little nubbins on the end. I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. I just have these giant, I don't know, pincer style scissors that are really good for cutting in DIY projects with wood and other metals. So I had those on hand. It's not necessary for you to do that. It just makes sliding it in a little bit easier for me on my paper cutter. Now, what I'm going to do is actually trim off the whole section there that has the metal glued down inside and all of that good stuff, as well as cut it in half so that I can get the divider kind of set up. I'm using these because of the thicker paper, and it's just more durable and really great for dividers. You can use any file folders for this as well as cardstock, but I found that file folders are like coated and they're just better. And here's where I was distracted and cut my sheet too small. So this guy's going to get a little hack later down the road to make sure that I don't do that again and can use this, because there were exactly the right amount of file folders to get a 12-month layout of dividers all in one shot. So I'm going to have to salvage that one. But anyway, what I'm doing is I am cutting so that there is enough to incorporate the full page along with some of the space for the tab, as you can kind of see me doing there with the template. So for the classic Happy Planner, I'm basically doing 7.5 roughly by 9.25, which is the height of the Happy Planner page. So a little bit bigger than the 7 inches that each page is for Happy Planner Classic. But for example, if you are doing a letter size page, like a big Happy Planner, sizing that you would want to do is, instead of 8.5 across, you'd probably want to do 9 by 11, and so on and so forth, depending on what size you're using for your planner. Okay, so I'm just going through and I'm prepping all of these file folders. One thing that I am trying to do is avoid that logo, as you can see there on the back. So I'm going to be doing some moving and finagling on the dividers to try to cut that part off when the time comes. This set of hanging file folders I got from Walmart, and the whole set was under $6. It was 5 something. 3 different styles, and I just really liked how it was like black and white and clean and very, I don't know, modern looking. So I grabbed those and have already trimmed most of them. And now I will begin punching and figuring out the order so that I can do the cuts for each divider section and also whichever side I'm going to be doing the hole punch. And here's the one that I will be adjusting so that I can make a tab out of it and salvage it, which you'll see me do. Great choices for this is to use dividers that you already have, so you can make the tabs yourself. and just follow along with the already established pattern. But if you don't have anything to start with, you can just do a measurement style of tab where you're just measuring each, 2 inches on one side, or dividing up your page into equal increments, depending on how many dividers you want on the side of your page. And that's pretty simple to do with just a ruler. Once you get your pages cut, that's where you really want to start, and then figure out where your tabs are going to go. So here I'm just adjusting the order of things so I can make sure that that one that needs to be adjusted is not at the very front. I want to make sure that that white one that I need to fix is hidden within the schema. Now what I'm doing is actually drawing out where the tab is going to be. I'm just flipping it upside down or right side up to do the 2 middle tabs, since there are 4 across the side. And so I can use 1 divider for the top and the bottom, just flipping it, and then 1 divider for the 2 middle ones, just flipping it, and that works out perfectly. Again, just trying to figure out the order of things. I thought I had it, and then I needed to go back and figure it out again so that that one was kind of snugged in there and not right up in the front. And then I kept confusing myself, so this is something you'll need to be aware of when you do it. Make sure that you're doing the opposite of what you want the divider on the front to be on the back. So when you are tracing out the tab, remember it's going to be flipped. That can get confusing as well. Hopefully you guys won't be as confused as I was for a minute here. It really doesn't matter what order your dividers are going in, then you should be fine. But what I would suggest doing is tracing them all out first, seeing how they all line up, and then verifying it before you actually make any cuts. Really helped me out a lot. So again, just double checking as I go, making sure I have the lineup right and that everything is alternating in the pattern I am envisioning. So some cardstock will be double-sided, which is kind of nice if you aren't planning on sticking any pages to the back of your divider. This worked out better for me because I end up sticking the monthly layout to the back of the divider, so I don't need a backing to it. I can just easily just stick the page down, and that looks great for me and works great for me. I don't need the extra. So these one-sided sheets work perfectly, but if you do like standalone dividers, do realize that you would want to look for cardstock or some kind of double-sided file folder divider that you can save yourself the time and the energy from doing a double cut. I have in the past used that gold foil cardstock that I showed earlier and did a double-sided divider with 2 cuts. It worked pretty well. It just took a little bit longer because you have to basically do twice the amount of work and then stick the pages together. So just because I'm not that great at doing straight cuts, I am doing as many straight cuts as I possibly can on my guillotine cutter. I'm going pretty close to the line and trying to do what I can to get right up there with the straight cuts. Even cutting with my left hand, which was very scary, as you can see, so I could get that cut on the opposite side. But it worked out fine. I just had to go real slow so that I didn't cut too far. My motor control obviously isn't as good on my left side. So basically I'm just gonna cut them all in the same manner, and like I said, I'm gonna try to do those left cuts. Being careful not to cut where the tab is going, but up to where I have the tab marked, or as close as I feel comfortable getting with this large cutter. Just a few more here. And it's okay if you mess up or things aren't perfect because the dividers are usually staggered, so it shouldn't really be that noticeable in the end. Just, do your best and then work from that. I've busted out my tiny little cutting mat to help with this part of the project. I'm using my precision cutter, which I got from Slice, which I love. It's really great. It's a really small, thin blade, but it's really safe and doesn't cut too deep. I love it for almost every application. It was okay for this because the dividers are so thick. Maybe like an X-Acto knife or something might have been a little bit easier to cut through, but it definitely helped with rounding corners because it's so small and thin. It really helped me just kind of trace it like a pen versus the X-Acto knife would be a lot more challenging, I think, to get a nice soft edge there on the corners. And this again is all relative. You can do sharp corners if you prefer and make your life a lot easier. Just do square cuts and you don't have to do all this extra effort like I like to do. I don't know, like I like to make my life a little bit more difficult, I guess. Anyway, so I'm doing those cuts and just kind of cleaning anything up that I need to with the scissors. And as I go, I am punching the dividers and just double checking, making sure everything is aligning how I want it. So there's quite a bit of this trim out. I just wanted to show you at least 4 top and bottom dividers and how I did it. If you guys have a Cricut, that will save you tons of time. I didn't quite get to buying myself a Cricut this year. I had thought about it, but then in the end, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. So I don't have the room and I don't know, it's kind of expensive and all the materials are expensive. It's gonna have to do it old school, hand done way, but if you do have a tool, a cutting tool like a Cricut, I think that would be so much better and so much easier. But I highly recommend using file folders for that application because of the sturdiness of the material, and if it's cutting, being cut for you, even better. I think you guys have seen enough of this. Just punch a few more and then we'll jump to the next part of this. So I have here the dividers that I use in my planner currently for my reference section. I've separated these guys out into 4 different sections. I have personal, business, social, and miscellaneous. That's how I use these dividers. Made out of cardstock many years ago before I even started my YouTube channel, and they've held out so well. I really like the cardstock that I had. It was a gold foil, kind of clean book of just gold foiled cardstock on white, so lots of just different patterns but very simple, and I liked that about it. I put 2 sheets together because it was single-sided and glued them together and then cut out the tabs using a Happy Planner divider as a sample. So very similar to the technique I've used in the past to show you how to create dividers, and in the videos I will have here linked before. So what I want to do with these is, because I like them so much and don't feel like creating new dividers, I thought it would be nice to laminate them. So I've already peeled off the labels on these guys, which some are a little bit worse for wear. They're starting to get a little bit junky, which is part of the reason why I want to laminate them now before they're beyond the point of saving. And I'm going to just go ahead and use some laminating pouches that I have from Scotch. These are the 5mm size. I think I could get away with a 3mm size on this, but I only have 1 sheet of that available to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the 5mm and see how it does. And these sheets I think are maybe a little bit over letter size, 8.9-ish to 11.4. That's what it says. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up and show you how we'll do that. We'll do it on the first one. I'm going to do it on one that I don't like as well, just to make sure that this is the way I want to go with this. And yeah, I'm just hoping that this will help protect them. The fronts of them, you know, were holding up really well. It's the tabs, when I pulled them or when they're in my planner, just needed some extra support. So we're just going to do the whole thing. I did in the past research, well, kind of collective research by the planner community on how I might be able to do just the tabs, kind of like the Happy Planner does on their tabs, where it's just the tab itself. Let me see if I can have an example. So something like this, where it's just the tab. And there were some really great options. A lot of people were mentioning using packaging tape or some other, like the self-laminating sheets, the ones that don't require heat to do this, and just kind of cut and then seal it like that, which is definitely an option. I just don't have any of those things handy, and I have a lot of these sheets, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try it with these. So I have this here. I've heated up my laminator already to 5 mil, so it's a little bit hotter than normal, and we're just gonna go ahead and jump in here. I do want to make sure it's straight, so I feel like it's a little bit crooked. I don't have to redo this later down the road. And that looks good. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and feed it through, and I'm feeding it through with the top, the kind of sealed top lamination first, just so that things kind of stay put. And did put it in a little crooked, so it might get a little wonky here in a minute. And okay, so that's how it turned out. I think these are going to be much more rugged and more stable for use. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. I will be more careful to look for any kind of things that I picked up. Pretty sure that's on an eraser shaving that just got slided in there. And then I think these will be really nice for when I put my little labels on there. It'll be good to go. So let me go ahead and do all of those real quick, and then we'll come back and I'll do the trimming. So I have them all laminated now, and I will go ahead and do some trimming. And basically I'm just going to trim off the bottom piece. Careful not to get too close to the edge of the divider. Let's just get like maybe like right there. And we'll do this one kind of close to the tab first, and then a little bit away. All right, a little bit in to help us there. And then I will trim this one as well on the side. Maybe a little bit more. That one got a little crooked. That looks good, and then we'll go ahead and finish up the trimming here just with some scissors, kind of outline where it needs to be. I want it a little bit closer. That looks good, and then just this edge. There we go. Soften that edge a little bit. And I feel like I need a little bit more here. I'm just making it nice and clean. A little bit of this softening there. Okay. So I will go ahead and do all of those in a minute, the rest of the things, but I wanted to show you one complete one. So I've trimmed it out, as you can see, and that's crooked. I can see it from here. Things that will bug me. Okay, better. I also have this hole punch, this rounder, and I think I want to round these corners, at least here on the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and try this. It's the first time I've actually used this on anything, actually. So let's see how it does. And that came out perfect, very nice and round. Although I think, well, that looks pretty straight. Yeah, we'll leave it. We'll do the other ones. Yeah, very nice. Perfect. Okay, so I got my laminated divider. Everything looks good. The last step will be to actually punch the holes again, since it's now in a laminated state. And here I'm just going to eyeball it because I can't really see. There, I think that's centered. That was close. But now that I have that, let me just do another one. Fix that. And then we'll do the rest. It's usually better to not pre-punch these, but of course I'm just redoing the one that I had done before. So it, you know, couldn't be helped, but it's better to do the punch all the way through one time. That way you get a better result. You can see some of these are getting off because of the lamination. So not ideal. Let me fix this one. I normally don't have any problems with my crocodile punch, so maybe it just needs to be sharpened. I did use it quite a bit in recent times, so there you have it. Laminated divider, or you could do the same thing with a dashboard, doing tabs at the top. That's kind of how I differentiate between dashboard and divider. Dividers, I say, are on the side, and then dashboards are at the top. But honestly, they're interchangeable words. So that is it, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch. And think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Bye!